Hi, let's take a look at the tombs of kings in Paphos, Cyprus, as part of our winter sunbreak with Jet 2 holidays. We flew with Jet 2 from London Stansted direct to Paphos International Airport. Included in this flight was a 20-minute transfer to our accommodation for this winter sunbreak, the 5-star Olympic Lagoon Resort, and we were hosted by Jet 2 holidays. So as part of our break, we decided to take a visit to the nearby Tombs of Kings, which was just over a couple of miles away from our hotel. So without further ado, let's go and explore. The Tombs of the Kings is also known as Kato Paphos necropolis, and this is probably more accurate because, spoiler alert, no kings were buried here. It's not long before we're descending into our first tomb, and it is thought that the necropolis started in the 3rd century BC. with the final tombs added some 6 or 7 centuries later. These rooms would have looked similar to their homes, with the walls decorated with frescoes. These have been lost to time, but it's easy to see the money spent on the afterlife. Our tour of the Tombs of the Kings will also focus on the landscape that this city of the dead was built into. That's right, these catacombs were built into the local rock, sometimes creating something rather special, as we'll find out with Tomb 3 a little later on. So why the misleading name? Well, the Tomb of Kings derives its name from the grandeur of this burial site, last resting place of the rich, learned and nobles of old Paphos. So how much does it cost? Our 2022 visit cost us €2.50 each. That's not bad value. And as you can see, you're free to wander around as you wish. There's not much preventing you from exploring, nor falling down a large hole at times. You just need to be sensible. But of course you are. As you may have noticed, we're close to the shoreline, and you'll get views of the shipwreck, the MV Demetrios II, out to sea. Drop us a comment at the end for how many times you saw it. And here's a little clue. This is your first sighting. Some of these chambers are a bit rustic at the start of the tour, but believe me, they do become a lot more impressive as we make our way around. As I mentioned earlier, I find the landscape, geology and flora fascinating. Just being able to explore the Tomb of Kings like this is so liberating. You can see where burial sites have been lost, and I wonder if there are more to be discovered. And here's one of those holes I mentioned you can fall down. Paphos' necropolis has been known for centuries and may have had squatters in the Middle Ages. What is known is that they have been plundered over time. It wasn't until the 1870s that the first archaeological excavations began, and by 1915 the first excavations under scientific supervision. Further explorations continue in the hope of learning more about the Hellenistic and early Roman periods of the Eastern Mediterranean. How long should you plan your visit for? Well, we had an amble around, exploring a fair bit, and it took us 2 hours, but we could have spent longer. It's not a small endeavour, and the complex is spread out over a wide area. And as you complete the loop, the tombs become a little bit more impressive. Oh, another thing to mention. The only facilities are in the ticket hall at the beginning, and make sure you keep yourself refreshed and hydrated in that Cypriot sun. After a look at some of the more simple burial chambers, we start to notice things are becoming a little more ornate. I assume this lot would have been covered and you would have stepped down into it, but who would have been buried here? I'd love to understand those symbols. Leave us a comment if you do. Now time to explore a little further. I have to say this was the perfect winter break for us, thanks to Jet 2 holidays. On this day in late February the temperature was a very comfortable 21 degrees centigrade or early 70s Fahrenheit. The ground below us seems to be a veritable Swiss cheese of catacombs, with each doorway leading to a number of chambers, all carved out of the local rock over 1500 years ago. Our wanderings have led us around in a circle, and we return to one of our earlier points, but this time we head off to the coastline. There is a fence line of footpath between the water and the western edge of the Tomb of Kings, but the ground underneath you has turned very sandy nonetheless. Here we find stacked stones and rocks, perhaps a sign of peace and tranquility. It's from this viewpoint that in the distance we spot further catacombs, and the scale of this site is starting to dawn on us. Rather than head that way, we decide to make our way inland slightly, where it's a little firmer underfoot. It's from here we get another surprise, and that is even more tombs laid out over this landscape. I think it's from here we can see how this necropolis expanded over the centuries. We've now been able to descend to the level of the tombs and are able to stroll among them. Again, it's possible to step inside. It's access all areas for a reasonable €2.50. I hope you like what we brought you here. If you have, please give us a like. We'd appreciate that. And why not subscribe? I know it's a mixed bag, but there's always a touch of history and culture thrown in. I think this view indicates how grand this would have looked all those hundreds of years ago. It's really hard to imagine a city of the dead, but that's what this would have been. And have you noticed how the layout has changed as we enter the more densely populated areas? If I were to level a criticism at the site, it would be to provide better information on notice boards. I only know a handful of the tombs we visited. I know this is tomb 5. At the entrance it lists 8, but only a couple were clearly identified. It would have made putting this video together a little easier. It's only a minor niggle, and it probably won't spoil your day if you visit. This could be tomb 8, and boy does it look impressive, but the best is still yet to come. And this is tomb 7, complete with its Doric columns. I believe this is the remains of tomb 6. But now we come to tomb 3, and my favourite. Let's take a look around and see if you agree. So what do you think? Was it your favourite? And this will be our final glimpse of the Tomb of Kings. It's time for me to say au revoir. Thanks so much for watching. Stay safe, stay well, and happy travels.